Hello Army, welcome back to my channel. If you're new here, go ahead and hit that subscribe button, because today's story is genuinely one of the most heartwarming things we've covered on this channel in a while. This isn't about a chart record, a fashion moment, or a viral dance clip. This is about a single, quiet moment between Jimin and a young fan in Texas, and how that one moment ended up rippling outward into something much bigger than anyone probably expected in the moment it happened. Let's walk through exactly what took place and why it's resonating so deeply. So let's start with the setting, because context always helps a story like this land the way it should. BTS brought a stop on their ongoing world tour to AT&T Stadium in Arlington, Texas, on August 15th. Stadium shows at this scale are massive productions, tens of thousands of fans, incredible production value, hours of high-energy performance. But within that enormous scale, there's often a section of the show, or a specific segment built into the concert experience, dedicated to something a lot more personal and a lot smaller in scope. That's exactly where this story begins. As part of the concert, there was a segment connected to the Make-A-Wish Foundation's I Wish to Meet program. If you're not familiar with Make-A-Wish, it's one of the most well-known and widely respected charitable organizations in the world, an organization whose entire mission is centered around granting wishes to children facing critical illnesses. Their I Wish to Meet program specifically focuses on making it possible for these children to meet the celebrities, athletes, or public figures who mean the most to them, creating a moment of genuine joy and connection during what is often an incredibly difficult chapter of a child's life. During this particular show, a young fan was there specifically through that program, given the opportunity to be close to the stage and, more than that, to actually be noticed and acknowledged by Jimin directly during the performance. According to footage that quickly began circulating after the show, the child was visibly overwhelmed with emotion, crying while watching the performance unfold in front of her. That kind of emotional reaction isn't unusual at a concert of this magnitude. The energy, the noise, the sheer scale of finally being present at something you've probably dreamed about for a long time, can understandably bring anyone to tears, let alone a child who's been through significant hardship just to be there in the first place. What happened next is the part that turned this from a touching but fairly ordinary concert moment into something that spread rapidly across social media and eventually grew into something much bigger. Jimin noticed her from the stage. In the middle of an enormous stadium, in the middle of performing in front of tens of thousands of people, he noticed one specific child crying near the front, and he didn't just glance past it and keep going with the show. He stopped what he was doing just long enough to genuinely engage with the moment. He walked over toward her, gave her the keychain he happened to be wearing at the time, a small, personal item that instantly became something this child will likely treasure for the rest of her life, and then leaned in and gave her a kiss on the cheek. There's something genuinely striking about how simple that description sounds when you say it out loud, and yet how profoundly it seems to have affected everyone who witnessed it, both in person and later online. He didn't make a big theatrical production out of it. He didn't stop the entire show for an extended period of time or turn it into a drawn-out, staged moment. He simply noticed a child in distress, walked over, gave her something meaningful, offered a small gesture of comfort, and then continued on with the performance. The whole interaction likely lasted only a matter of seconds, but the impact of those few seconds has clearly extended far beyond that single moment in that stadium. Footage of the interaction spread incredibly quickly once it hit social media. Fans who were there captured the moment from different angles, and within hours, clips were circulating widely, being shared, reposted, and discussed across multiple platforms in multiple languages. People reacted the way you'd expect people to react to something this genuinely sweet, with an outpouring of warmth, admiration, and emotional commentary about just how thoughtful and present he managed to be in that specific moment, despite everything else happening around him on that stage. But here's where the story takes its most meaningful turn, the part that I think elevates this from simply being a nice, feel-good viral clip into something with real, tangible, lasting impact. In the days that followed, fans didn't just share the video and move on. A significant number of them were moved enough by what they'd witnessed that they decided to take action themselves. Specifically, fans started making donations to Make-A-Wish, the exact organization responsible for facilitating that meeting in the first place, directly inspired by what they'd seen in that clip. According to screenshots that began circulating afterward, fans shared proof of their donations, confirmation messages showing successful contributions to Make-A-Wish, some donating relatively modest amounts, others contributing considerably more. One screenshot that circulated showed a donation confirmation for over $400, made specifically in connection with this moment. Other donation confirmations, ranging in different amounts, showed messages specifically noting that the contribution was being dedicated to BTS and their fandom, ARMY, as a way of honoring what Jimin's small gesture had inspired. What's genuinely remarkable about this wave of donations is how organic and spontaneous it clearly was. This wasn't part of any official, coordinated charity campaign announced in advance by BTS's management or by Make-A-Wish itself. There was no formal fundraising drive attached to this specific concert stop that anyone had been actively promoting beforehand. This was simply individual fans, moved by witnessing a genuine, unscripted act of kindness, independently deciding on their own that they wanted to contribute something meaningful in response. Some of them shared their donation confirmations publicly, tagging the moment and explaining why they decided to give. Others, according to reports, chose to donate anonymously, wanting to contribute without any need for public recognition or acknowledgement. That distinction matters a lot, I think. When people give anonymously, without any expectation of public credit or social media validation, it tends to reflect a particularly genuine, unselfish motivation behind the act. It's not about being seen doing something good, it's simply about wanting to contribute to something meaningful because you were moved enough by what you witnessed to want to be part of it in some small way. Let's talk a little bit about why this specific moment resonated strongly enough to inspire this kind of tangible, real-world action, because I think that's genuinely worth unpacking. There's something about witnessing an unscripted, unplanned act of kindness that hits differently than watching something that's been carefully produced or staged for maximum emotional impact. When you watch a performer notice someone in genuine distress, in the middle of an enormous, high-stakes production, and choose to prioritize that individual human connection even for just a few seconds, it reads as authentic in a way that's honestly hard to manufacture intentionally. Fans picked up on that authenticity immediately, and that authenticity is very likely a huge part of why the moment ended up motivating so many people to actually take action rather than just passively enjoying the clip and scrolling on. There's also something meaningful about the specific charitable organization involved here. Make-A-Wish isn't an abstract or unfamiliar cause to most people watching this unfold. It's an organization with decades of established credibility, widely recognized for the genuinely life-changing work it does for children facing serious illness. When fans saw a moment connected directly to that specific mission, granting a sick child the chance to meet someone who means the world to her, it created an incredibly clear, direct, emotionally resonant connection between the joy of that single moment and the broader importance of the organization that made it possible in the first place. Donating to Make-A-Wish after watching that clip wasn't an abstract, disconnected gesture, it was a way of directly supporting the exact same kind of opportunity for other children in similar situations. Let's also spend some time reflecting on the broader pattern this fits into, because this genuinely isn't the first time we've seen this kind of ripple effect happen in connection with Jimin specifically. He's developed a reputation, built up consistently over years, for exactly this kind of quiet, unscripted generosity, both toward individual fans in moments like this one, and through more formal, large-scale philanthropic contributions as well. He's been affectionately nicknamed by parts of the fandom as something like a donation fairy, a title that reflects just how consistently he's shown up for causes and communities in need throughout his career, often without seeking any attention or recognition for doing so. That established reputation matters here, because it likely amplified the impact of this specific moment considerably. When someone with a long, consistent track record of genuine generosity does something kind, fans tend to trust that the gesture is coming from an authentic place, rather than being calculated for optics or public relations purposes. That trust makes people considerably more likely to want to actively participate in extending that same spirit of generosity themselves, rather than simply admiring it from a distance. Let's also talk about the broader phenomenon of fans channeling their admiration for an artist into real-world charitable action, because this is honestly one of the more consistently beautiful aspects of large, passionate fandoms in general, and this fandom in particular. Time and time again, we see moments where a performer's actions, whether that's a birthday celebration, an emotional performance, or a moment of genuine kindness like this one, become the direct catalyst for fans organizing tree planting initiatives, scholarship funds, blood drives, or direct donations to causes the artist cares about or is connected to in some way. It's become such a consistent, recurring pattern within this specific fandom that it's honestly become part of the broader cultural identity associated with being a BTS fan, using moments of shared joy or admiration as a springboard for tangible, positive real-world impact. And I think that pattern says something genuinely meaningful about the relationship between artists and fans in general, at least when that relationship is functioning at its healthiest. It's not simply a one-way transaction of entertainment being consumed by an audience. There's a reciprocal element to it, where an artist's genuine character and values end up inspiring an audience to reflect those same values back out into the world in their own way, often completely independent of anything the artist directly asked them to do. Let's take a moment to think about this specific child's experience too, because I think it's worth acknowledging just how significant a moment like this likely is from her perspective and from the perspective of her family. Children navigating serious illness face an enormous amount of difficulty, uncertainty, and disruption to what would otherwise be a fairly normal childhood. Programs like Make-A-Wish exist specifically because moments of genuine, uncomplicated joy matter enormously for the well-being of these children and their families, providing something bright and positive to hold on to amid what can often be an incredibly challenging and frightening experience. For this particular child, getting the chance to not just attend a concert by an artist she clearly admires deeply, but to actually be personally noticed, acknowledged, and shown genuine warmth by that artist in the middle of a massive stadium show, is the kind of experience that's likely to stay with her, and with her family, for the rest of their lives. It's the kind of memory that photographs and videos can capture, but that really has to be experienced to fully understand the emotional weight of. And now, because of the way this moment spread and inspired others, her experience has become something that's had a positive ripple effect reaching well beyond just her own personal joy that day, translating into real, tangible support for other children facing similar circumstances through those donations. Let's also touch on why moments like this tend to spread so widely and so quickly across social media in the first place, because I think there's something worth understanding about the mechanics of why certain clips take off the way this one clearly did. In an online media landscape that's often saturated with manufactured drama, staged controversy, and content specifically engineered to provoke strong reactions through conflict or outrage, a genuine, unscripted moment of kindness tends to stand out precisely because it's so different from most of what tends to dominate social media feeds. People are naturally drawn to sharing and amplifying content that makes them feel genuinely good, especially when that content reflects real, authentic human connection rather than something calculated or performative. That's very likely part of why this clip specifically resonated so strongly and spread as widely as it did, well beyond just BTS's existing fanbase. It's the kind of moment that appeals to a much broader, more general audience too, people who might not follow K-pop closely at all, but who can still appreciate witnessing a genuine act of kindness between a performer and a young fan facing serious illness. That broader appeal likely played a meaningful role in how far this particular story traveled, and in turn, how many people ended up feeling moved enough to actually take action themselves. Now, I want to spend a little time reflecting on what this entire chain of events represents in a bigger picture sense, because I think it's genuinely worth sitting with. What started as a brief, unplanned, unscripted interaction lasting only a few seconds on a stadium stage ended up translating into real, measurable financial support for an organization that provides genuinely meaningful experiences for children facing some of the hardest circumstances imaginable. That's an extraordinary chain of cause and effect when you really think about it. A single moment of genuine human connection, witnessed by tens of thousands of people in person and then millions more online, translated directly into real-world charitable action from complete strangers who felt moved enough by what they'd seen to want to be part of something bigger than just passively watching and moving on. That's honestly the kind of impact that's very difficult to plan or manufacture intentionally. You can't force authenticity, and you certainly can't guarantee that an authentic moment will resonate widely enough to inspire this kind of tangible response. It happens because the moment itself was genuine, because the artist involved has built up enough trust and goodwill with his audience over years of consistent character, and because the specific cause connected to that moment was one that people could immediately understand and feel genuinely motivated to support. Let's also acknowledge the broader significance of moments like this for the reputation and public perception of large fandoms more generally, because I think this is honestly an important point worth making. Massive, passionate fan communities, especially ones built around global pop culture phenomena, often face criticism or stereotyping from outside observers who view intense fan devotion as excessive, frivolous, or somehow lacking in real-world substance. Stories like this one push back against that narrative in a genuinely compelling way. They demonstrate that deep admiration for an artist and genuine, substantive charitable action aren't mutually exclusive. In fact, they can work together, with one directly inspiring and amplifying the other in ways that create real positive impact in the world. I also think it's worth acknowledging, honestly and directly, that not every online conversation about celebrity charitable giving is uniformly positive or free of skepticism, and I think it's important to address that honestly rather than pretending this kind of coverage never generates any pushback. There have been instances, in this fandom and others, where some observers have questioned whether celebrity charitable involvement is genuinely motivated by care, or whether it primarily serves public relations purposes. That's a fair, reasonable question to raise in general conversations about celebrity philanthropy, and healthy skepticism about motives is a normal part of how people process public figures navigating platforms this large. But in the specific case of this particular moment, the nature of what actually happened makes that kind of skepticism considerably harder to sustain. This wasn't a formally announced charitable campaign with press coverage arranged in advance. It was an unscripted, in-the-moment reaction to a crying child during a live performance, the kind of split-second decision that doesn't allow time for calculated public relations planning. The donations that followed were entirely fan-initiated, without any formal ask or campaign attached to them. That combination of spontaneity and organic fan response is honestly a pretty compelling argument for the genuine authenticity of both the original gesture and everything that followed from it. Let's bring this back to the emotional core of the story one more time before we wrap up, because I think that's ultimately what makes this worth talking about at length in the first place. At its heart, this is a story about noticing. About a performer, in the middle of an enormous, overwhelming production, choosing to notice one individual person who needed a moment of comfort, and acting on that instinct immediately rather than letting the moment pass by unaddressed. And it's a story about how that single act of noticing rippled outward, inspiring countless other people to extend that same spirit of care and attention toward children they will likely never meet, simply because witnessing genuine kindness made them want to be part of extending it further. That's honestly a pretty beautiful thing to witness unfold in real time, and it's exactly the kind of story that reminds you why moments like this, even when they only last a few seconds, can end up mattering so much more than their brief runtime would ever suggest. Before we wrap up, I want to hear from you. Have you ever been personally moved to donate to a cause because of something you witnessed a favorite artist or public figure do, whether that's Jimin specifically or anyone else? And what do you think it says about this fandom specifically that moments like this so consistently translate into real, tangible charitable action rather than just staying online as a viral clip people watch and forget? Drop your thoughts down in the comments. I read every single one, and I genuinely love hearing your own stories about moments that inspired you to give back in your own way. If you enjoyed this breakdown, make sure to like this video, subscribe if you haven't already, and turn on notifications so you don't miss the next update, because stories like this one, the ones that remind you what this fandom is truly capable of when genuine kindness meets genuine community, are exactly the kind of content I love bringing to this channel. Thank you so much for watching. I'll see you in the next video, and until then, take care of yourselves. Bye!